Imagine for a second that your body is keeping a secret diary, and every time you feel overwhelmed, burnt out, or anxious, that diary gets updated. Now, imagine that before your child is even conceived, they've already read every word. Most of us grew up believing that our health was a simple roll of the genetic dice. You get your dad's eyes and your mom's smile, and that's the end of the story. But groundbreaking new research in neuroscience is revealing a much deeper, more complex reality. It turns out that a father's mental health and his experiences with chronic stress long before conception can actually rewrite the biological software he passes down to his children. This isn't just about the genes you were born with. It's about how your life experiences change the way those genes are expressed. If you're a future parent, or just someone interested in the fascinating world of epigenetics, understanding this mechanism is crucial. We've spent decades focusing on the mother's health during pregnancy, which is vital, of course, but the father's role in the preconception phase has been largely overlooked until now. Recent studies, including a major review in Neuroscience and Biobehavioral Reviews, are shining a light on what scientists call missing inheritance. We know that mental disorders like depression and anxiety tend to run in families, but when scientists look at DNA, they can't find enough risk genes to explain why it happens so consistently. The answer, it seems, lies in the epigenome. To understand this, think of your DNA as the hardware of a computer and epigenetics as the software that tells it how to run. You can have the best hardware in the world, but if the software is buggy because of chronic stress, the output is going to be affected. For a father, this software update happens primarily in the sperm. The research shows that things like paternal stress, trauma, and even diet can trigger small chemical changes, specifically DNA methylation and changes in non-coding RNAs within the sperm. These aren't mutations that change the DNA sequence itself, but they act like sticky notes on the genes, telling the developing embryo which genes to turn on and which to turn off. One of the most startling findings is how specifically chronic stress targets this process. When a male is exposed to prolonged periods of high stress, his body produces signaling molecules that eventually reach the reproductive system. This is where spatiotemporal windows come into play. There are specific times in a man's life when his sperm is most susceptible to these epigenetic shifts. It's not just a snapshot of a single day, it's a cumulative record of his mental well-being. Have you ever felt like your own stress levels might be affecting more than just your mood? It's a heavy thought, but knowing this gives us incredible power to make changes. Drop a comment below if you've ever wondered about how much of your personality or mental health was truly inherited versus shaped by your environment. The research doesn't stop at sperm epigenetics. It also looks at the role of seminal plasma. For a long time, we thought of this fluid merely as a transport medium for sperm, but we now know it contains complex signaling components that can influence the environment of the female reproductive tract. This interaction sets the stage for the embryo's development and can even influence the child's susceptibility to mental health issues later in life. Interestingly, these effects often show up in sexually dimorphic ways, meaning a father's stress might affect a son's brain development differently than it affects a daughter's. But here is the most important part. This is not a life sentence. The beauty of epigenetics is that it is dynamic. Unlike your DNA sequence, which is fixed, your epigenetic markers are reversible. The review explores emerging interventions that can potentially block this intergenerational transmission. Things like physical exercise, mindfulness, and proper mental health support before conception can actually clean up these epigenetic tags. By prioritizing paternal mental health, we aren't just helping the men of today. We are literally changing the biological starting point for the next generation. We are moving toward a future where we can break the cycle of inherited trauma and mental illness before it even begins. In summary, the science of preconception paternal health is a game changer. It emphasizes that a father's well-being is a fundamental pillar of child development. By understanding the pathways of sperm epigenetics and seminal plasma, we can better appreciate the missing inheritance and take proactive steps toward healthier families. If you found this insight into the secret life of your genes helpful, consider sharing this with someone who needs to hear it. Taking care of your mind is the first step in taking care of your future family. Make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the science of human potential and how you can optimize your biological legacy.